Top 10 Highest Paid Players in the English Premier League 2022. The English Premier League is the richest football league in the world, in terms of how much money the league and the clubs in it generate. This gives Premier League clubs, especially the biggest ones, a lot of leeway in the transfer market. They can afford to pay top dollar to bring in the best players in the world, and they can offer mouth-watering wages to keep these players within the league. In this video, we take a look at the highest paid players in the English Premier League. But first, a disclaimer. None of these names will surprise anybody. Casemiro is the true definition of a serial winner. Before moving to Europe with Real Madrid in 2013, the Brazilian midfielder played as a youngster with Sao Paulo in his home country. It was a quicker rise to prominence than many players can boast of, but there is absolutely no doubt that he earned it. During his time with Real Madrid, Casemiro won several trophies multiple times, including the Champions League, the La Liga, the UEFA Super Cup, and the Spanish League Cups. So, when Manchester United registered their interest in bringing the midfield destroyer to England in the summer of 2022, it was expected that they would have to cough up wages befitting of his status in world football. That status earned him a 4-year contract worth £15.6 million per year, broken down into an average of £300,000 per week. It rightfully placed Casemiro as one of the top earners in the team and indeed the entire English Premier League. Despite being only 25 years old when he joined Manchester City in 2021, it felt like Jack Grealish had been around forever. The fact that the highly rated attacker had been playing regular first team for his boyhood club, Aston Villa, since 2014 might have something to do with it though. He was far from being a stranger to the Premier League, despite spending a couple of years playing in the Championship. It was only a matter of time before a big team would come knocking, and Villa's reluctance to sell ensured that Manchester City had to pay a record transfer fee to bring him to the Etihad. Jack was instantly made one of the top earners in the team, taking home an annual salary of £15.6 million for an average of £300,000 per week. Speaking of players that have been around forever, Raheem Sterling is another one of English football's finest youth products. Sterling made his mark when he became a first-team regular for Liverpool at the age of 17, helping the struggling team to qualify for European football, alongside a couple of other gems at their disposal at the time. He was still very much a youngster when he joined Manchester City for about £50 million, and he went on to spend the next 7 years of his trophy-laden career there. Ahead of the 2022-23 season, Raheem Sterling completed a move to Stamford Bridge with Chelsea Football Club, instantly becoming the club's highest earner and retaining his position as one of the top earners in the league. His contract with the Blues is reportedly worth the same as Grealish's at City, £15.6 million per annum and £300,000 per week. As most people will agree, he's earned it. There was a time when Raphael Varane was firmly in every discussion about the best centre-back in the world. That shout was particularly loud when he won the 2018 World Cup with France and the Champions League with Real Madrid. His stock is not so high nowadays, and some of that is down to the fact that he currently plays for Manchester United Football Club, which has been struggling for success on the pitch for a few years. However, his wages at the club are certainly up there with the very best. Varane earns around £17.68 million per annum at Old Trafford, which brings his weekly pay to about £340,000 per week. It's not an outrageous amount of money for a serial winner like him, but the Old Trafford faithful will certainly be hoping that these wages translate into performances on the pitch to help bring the glory days back to the club. Manchester United are certainly not shy to pay top dollar for talent when they want it, as evidenced by the previous name we've just discussed. Another proof of this is seen in the signing of Jadon Sancho, one of Europe's brightest attacking talents. Jadon Sancho is a youth product from the other half of Manchester, although he was plying his trade in Germany with Borussia Dortmund when the Red Devils signed him. Sancho spent 4 years at Dortmund, making 104 league appearances and scoring 38 goals. He also provided over 50 assists in the league for his teammates during that time. The tricky forward joined United ahead of the 2021-22 season, and he was made the second highest earner in the team with an annual pay package of £18.2 million, about £350,000 per week. It's a lot of money for a young and still developing player, but this is certainly one transfer that Manchester United hopes to reap many years of success from. In stark contrast to the two new signings that Manchester United instantly paid through their noses for, David De Gea is one that had to work his way to the top over the course of many years at the club. The Spanish goalkeeper was signed from Atletico Madrid as far back as 2011, and he immediately had big shoes to fill as a replacement for the much more accomplished Edwin van der Sar. After a shaky start involving some schoolboy errors, David De Gea soon adjusted to the league and took to it like a fish to water. He has had several excellent years between the sticks for the club and is arguably one of the most talented goalkeepers to ever walk through the doors at Old Trafford. Those performances earned him a £19.5 million per year contract, following a topsy-turvy transfer window where it seemed all but certain that he would leave for Real Madrid. His reliability might have dimmed somewhat in recent years, especially as modern football evolves in terms of what is required from a goalkeeper. But David De Gea remains a very solid presence for the club, and he certainly earned his wages. It was only a matter of time before Erling Haaland found his way to the most popular league in the world. After bursting onto the scene with excellent performances in the Champions League with Red Bull Salzburg, Haaland earned a move to Dortmund in the winter transfer window of the 2019-20 season. Since then, his stock has only risen further as he continued to bang in the goals for fun. Despite a couple of minor injuries, especially in his final season with Dortmund, Haaland still managed to score 85 goals in 88 appearances for the club. Ahead of the 2022-23 season, Manchester City activated his release clause and bought him to the club for a relative bargain of £51 million. His annual wage package was also significantly boosted to £19.5 million, which comes to an average of about £375,000 per week. As of 2022, Haaland is the second highest paid player at Manchester City. Kevin De Bruyne is not only Manchester City's best player, he is one of the best players in the world. When a player of such talent represents one of the richest clubs in the world, it is a given that their pay package will reflect their ability. It is no surprise that KDB is the highest earner at Manchester City and the joint second highest in the league. His pay package of £20.8 million per year, for an average of £400,000 per week, is only bettered by another one of the best players in the game, and is very reflective of his contribution to the success of Manchester City in English football. Mohamed Salah is the most recent inclusion in the top 3 highest paid players in the Premier League. Following a transfer saga that dragged for a good part of the 2021-22 season, the Egyptian legend finally put pen to paper on a new contract worth £20.8 million while on vacation in July 2022. The new contract helped him to rise significantly in the rankings of the highest paid players in the league, bringing him level with Manchester City's Kevin De Bruyne, who also earns the same £400,000 per week figure. Considering the fact that Salah is a Liverpool legend, it seems only fair that he is also the highest paid player in the history of the club. If there's anyone that deserves to be paid a ridiculous amount of money, it's Cristiano Ronaldo. The Portuguese striker is one of the best players to ever grace the game, and his collection of individual and club awards certainly backs up that fact. Despite the fact that he was already getting on in age by the time he returned to Manchester United in 2021, he is still one of the best players in the world, and as such deserved a pay package to reflect that. When you factor in the point that Ronaldo also brings huge commercial value to the club, then £26.52 million per year does not sound as ridiculous as it normally might. That annual salary comes to an average of around £510,000 per week, a figure that sits him firmly at the top of the rankings of highest paid players in the English Premier League. From Erling Haaland to Cristiano Ronaldo, there is some variety in the list of the top 10 highest paid players in English football. At one end is a world-class player that is still very much in the early stages of his career, and on the other end is another world-class player that has completed football and is closer to the twilight of his career. The one consistent thing across the board is talent, and the English Premier League has got bags and bags of it.